my question this morning. I know you work with Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. What was it like working with Tom Brady? Are they both similar or different in their way of preparation?
There's a lot of similarities, and they're both. First of all, they're both tremendous people. Just great individuals. Their work ethic is very similar. Their preparation is very similar, and their competitiveness is very similar. They want to compete. They want to do the process. They enjoy the process. They enjoy the games, and it's fun to watch. And both of them have had a lot of success. And I'll say this about the success: it's been earned, so they deserve it.
Next question.
All right, folks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Uski and Herbie show here on a special edition starting at 7:30, a little half an hour at a time. I'm Chris Idell with George Pachera and Ewan McCreeve, or Uski, down there in Charlotte with a are you taking that with you with the Lamar Jackson? That's very nice. I like that.
I am going to take it with me. I'm going to try to peel it off and put it on the thing that it came on, but who knows?
All right, cool. Thanks for everybody for tuning in to us this week. It's Super Bowl week here on the station. Chiefs and Buccaneers going at it. Buccaneers at their home this year for the first time. First NFL team to have the Super Bowl at their place, taking on the defending world champs, Kansas City Chiefs. So let's talk about, first of all, we have some topics we're going to talk about here before 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock on the program, we have a former Viking great who played his college ball down at the University of Miami back in the 70s when Miami wasn't a powerhouse like it was in the late 80s, but he set the groundwork for him, to become something. Chuck Foreman will be joining us live from Minnesota. I talked to him around 2 hours ago, and he's psyched up, ready to go. So we'll get him by telephone because he, doesn't have a laptop. It's okay. We'll get him on the program. So we'll talk to him around 8 o'clock, and then around 8:15, we'll dive into the game coming up down there in beautiful Tampa Bay, where Ewan used to live down there in Tampa. So it was basically a nice place. How far were you, Ewan, from Tampa Stadium?
About 15 minutes, and I'm probably moving back to the Tampa area. So it would be nice to say I'm moving to where the world champs are, but a lot of work in front of them, George.
So John Dixon, who is the deputy editor of the Arrowhead Pride for the Kansas City Chiefs, technically the visitors from who are the visiting squad, he'll be joining us at 8:15 tonight, and around 8:30 we'll dive into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Evan Winters from Buck Nation will join us from SB Nation. So we got you covered here, for the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we got other news and notes around the NFL. Let's talk about the first one was the Stafford trade. Matthew Stafford was traded from Detroit to Los Angeles for Jared Goff. So let's take a vote here. What do you think about that trade? Let's start off with, I guess we'll see who's first up on the lineup here. Let me see. Hold on here. Let's bring it up here. We'll go with Uski. Talk about that.
Yes. And I know we have our particular topics. And George, before you go into yours, I'd like to hear your opinion about what I'm going to say about this trade. I've always been a Matthew Stafford fan, loved him when he was in college. But the guy hasn't won, a playoff game, George, and he's never really had a great defense, never really had a spectacular running game. And I just think that when it's all said and done, George, this trade that the Lions made will go down in history as one of the best trades in Detroit Lion franchise history. You're talking about a couple, okay, it's not this year, but the next 2 years, George, you're going to get a first-round draft pick. We've seen what first-round draft picks can do. I don't know why they paid such a hefty price for it, but I believe that they overreached. They see something that, quite frankly, I don't see. And I think the Rams are going to continue their decline and thus their demise in the NFC West.
I think it's very interesting. First of all, the word is that Goff's wife is not happy about moving to Detroit. So,
this is the insight you get from George.
rule number one: Mama needs to be happy.
Yeah.
Okay. When Stafford was there in Detroit, he had Megatron. You know, he had Megatron, and then Megatron took the early exit. See ya. I'm retiring. I'm hanging up the cleats. But I don't know why the Rams would even let this happen. I don't understand it. You're gifting them a franchise quarterback in Goff. So he's going to turn the team around, and then Detroit. It's got to come down to coaching, and it's got to come down to talent around them. So you're going out. It's like draft day. You're making a splash. Hey, Sonny, I need you to make a splash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the GM goes out and makes a splash. Now you need to do something with it. It's not always about the name. It's not about the numbers. It's how does he perform with all the other 10 guys on the field.
I agree with you. And I think Jared Goff, ever since that Super Bowl when they only scored 3 points against Tom Brady, I think, Mike McVay is looking for a quarterback. And I feel like Goff this year was in and out. He was injured, and they brought in the guy from, Wake Forest. He got clobbered in the playoff game. But I think McVay will like to have Stafford as quarterback, because Stafford threw how many times per game? He threw more passes than most of the quarterbacks during the season, so that's good for McVay, knowing that he has a quarterback who can throw 50 times per game instead of worrying about somebody who can only throw 20.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, you're going to have to do that when you don't have a running game. And, guys, I think you'd both agree with me that obviously every quarterback is better with the run game, but it was so McVay's offense is so heavily predicated, George, on that play action off that run motion. So, when you take that away, then you really see how effective Goff can be as just a straight drop back passer. This will go down in the books. This trade that Detroit made will go down in the books as the best thing that happened to Detroit since drafting Barry Sanders. And that's my 2 cents.
Can't disagree with you. Hopefully the Detroit fans will be happy with it, and they can win some games now. You got to start eliminating the problems. Quarterback, check.
And George, you were going to bring up a little bit of Brady and Belichick. Tell us your thoughts on this whole, wow, what a season. What a way to culminate the season.
So first of all, being a Giants fan, growing up in New England, you know how that is, Ewan, okay? In the early days of Belichick and Brady, all of a sudden they had all these Patriot fans came out of the woodwork. I never knew folks that were Patriot fans until Tom Brady and Bill Belichick got together. Okay, so I had this stigma just about the two of them. They're both type A personalities. Okay, nothing's ever good enough. Okay, so when I heard that Brady was going to Tampa Bay, I'm like, oh, no Brady in the Super Bowl this year. That was my first thought, was no Brady in the Super Bowl this year. And what happens? Brady makes it to the Super Bowl. But it's bigger than that. It goes to the relationship. People talk about who needed who in New England. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
People were saying that Brady needed Belichick and that Belichick needed Brady. I think it was Belichick that needed Brady, because this year, Cam Newton, I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's out of Charlotte. right, Ewan? He was an okay guy. He got it done. He's been to the Super Bowl, and he couldn't get the job done there. Belichick was not able to make the magic of taking ordinary guys this season and turning them into a championship team. So, in the end, when the question is posed is who needed who, I hate to say it, but Belichick needed Brady more than Brady needed him.
Yeah, George, I have to agree with you. And, being down here in Charlotte, I saw Cam firsthand. Obviously, he had that great, run to the Super Bowl. But ever since then, it's been downhill. And honestly, they got Cam at a pretty reasonable price for a rebuilding kind of year. But I have to agree with you. I mean, obviously, you don't have the weapons that Tampa has. And when Tom talked about going down to Tampa, I mean, you go from famine to feast with, Evans, of course, Antonio Brown and Godwin and Gronk. I mean, you go from having no deep field threats to having a legit three. So it's just worked out perfectly in Tampa.
Oh, I agree with you. And I think it's working. And then plus, with Brady, he brought Gronkowski, Gronk with him. And then Bruce Arians had his offense. And you saw in the beginning of the year, Brady was having a hard time with Bruce Arians' offense. And then those two had a powwow or we'll go to Applebee's and have a 2 for $20 or something like that.
That 2 for $20 is all me, George. Do I get a date? My first question when I get a date, you like Applebee's?
And then, dude, you see after the one of the games, like I think it was after the Chiefs game, everything started gelling into like what Tom Brady wanted. And Tom Brady became more. Yes, he didn't have a great NFC title game. Okay, yes, he threw 3 interceptions and pulled the magic out of his hat to go to Tampa for the Super Bowl. But Bruce Arians made it so easy for him that they realized what he works and what doesn't work. And you see where they are right now. They're in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, who he played against a couple of years ago in the AFC title game. And that was a good game on NBC, on CBS, went down to the overtime, and Tom Brady found Edelman in the end zone and all that stuff. So I know Patrick Mahomes is right now want revenge.
Well, just to wrap it up, not that I want to give Tom Brady any more credit than his ego can handle, but in the end, that team, it's the old phrase, it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. And that team, and I was watching the special, that team struggled. They couldn't get all the egos to work in sync. It took a lot of work for all those moving pieces to come in. And you mentioned Antonio Brown. He came in afterwards. Mm-hmm. So now you have an even bigger, we'll call him a prima donna, or he's a Madonna, okay? And now you're adding him into the mix. So somehow the Steelers, they're sitting back in Pittsburgh watching, okay? The Patriots, they're back in the 15, 16 inches of snow that they had up in Boston, okay? And Brady, I have to say, he's sitting pretty down in Tampa going to the Super Bowl in their home stadium. And by the way, they're the visitors for that game. So they're going to be in the visitors' locker room for that game, and the Chiefs will have the home locker room for that game.
Wow, how about that? And George, to your point, I really had to come to terms and grasp how important preseason OTAs are, especially when you come from a system that you've been doing basically your whole life, 20 years for Brady. So I think what you saw was those early mistakes, not being on the same page, that kind of thing. But as the season progressed, it was almost like they just started to gel and they started to get on the same page. And now you're seeing those things come to fruition, and it's a heck of a story.
One word, rhythm.
Yep.
That's something I never had on the dance floor, Herbie. I don't know. You got it, George.
Rhythm.
I can do the lawnmower.
Yeah, the steak one from Outback.
Sprinkler. Anybody? All right. Yeah. You wonder why I'm still single. Yep.
Yep. Well, folks, coming up at 8 o'clock, we just want to give you a program reminder. We have this former all-pro running back for the Minnesota Vikings who basically went to 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Didn't get a chance to win one. But Chuck Foreman will join us, former Viking, former Frederick High School cadet, who here in Maryland, and Miami Hurricane will be joining us at 8 o'clock here on the show. So I just want to let you all know if you want to tune in to watch that. He's live from Minnesota, so he's out there colder than we are.
When I was watching film on him, holy mackerel, he's a beast. George, this guy runs like a freight train. He's a locomotive, and he's got the breakaway speed. He's got all of the tools. Wow. What a running back. Excited to have him. And I want to add this for our listeners at the end of the show. If you want to make I'm going to have some can't miss Super Bowl prop bets.
Okay. We'll bring that up at the end of the show. So stick around for that. That'll be great. Little little money there. Johnny Manziel. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that real quick before we were talking about the Buccaneers as the visiting team. Did you hear that the NFL is trying to make it a neutral game, and they said they can't fire off their cannons? Did you hear that?
Oh, no, I did not hear that.
Yeah.
Wow, no cannons?
Yeah, the NFL wants to make it neutral as anything. So if the Buccaneers score a touchdown, they can't fire off their cannons. But they can fire them off before the game, but not during the game.
George Denmike. It makes sense. There was actually, to your point, Chris, there was, before we came on the air, I was looking on something on Facebook, and it was kind of a dig at the Detroit Lions. They said from now on, this point going forward, they're going to have all the games in Detroit because Detroit can't win and get to the Super Bowl anyway.
Yeah, that's tough. We're going to the bottom of the barrel. It's too early, George, for that. We usually save that for the end of the show.
But did you hear about the Detroit Lions coach? Did you listen to his press conference? I just want to play. I just want to break through a wall. He goes, what did you say? Like, I want to, if we get up, we're going to bite your kneecaps off, and then we're going to bite something off. And I'm like, my brother and I were watching. I go, oh my God, this guy wants to, show his lions. And then he has on his wall. I'll put it up later. His office. It says, Coach, whatever his name, and it says, Detroit Lions head coach / the dude.
Oh, no way. Did it? I missed that, man. George, before we get back into football, I know that you're I could just tell by looking at you, man. You're a great guy, and you're a patriot, a proud American, and you're also a big Lebowski fan. Am I right?
A big Lebowski fan?
Yes. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't.
George, after the show, I need you to email me and text me your address. I'm going to get a copy. You and the wife open a bottle of bubbly, maybe get a little chocolate fountain, some strawberries, and buckle up, pal.
And some fun.
One for the ages.
Buckle up. Wow, that's awesome.
I got you.
Well, folks, if you want to go to our Twitter page at HerbFM, I have a little quick polling question I put up this week. It's really easy. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl? We got Kansas City against Tampa Bay. So if you want to go on and vote now, I'd like to see what the Postal America is doing. Yeah, so just go there and you'll see that our little cheesy logo. And then that's what we get. Who will win Super Bowl 55? Vote now. So we'll love to, and we'll share it to you next week. What the people of the world think of who wants to win in the Super Bowl. So anyway, so any other topics that we want to cover until 10 minutes before the top of the hour?
You're gonna go with a couple of those videos, those interviews that you're going to show.
Yes, exactly. I forgot I got a video here. I talked to Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on Monday, and I asked him, and Ewan and I have a good friend down in Blacksburg, Virginia, Mike Burnup, who does the voice of the Virginia Tech Hokies, so the analyst for the football and basketball. So I asked Coach Arians about Mike Burnup and what was it like playing in Blacksburg in the 70s.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for taking my call. My question. We cover the ACC here in Maryland, and you spent your time in college at Virginia Tech. What was it like playing for Virginia Tech back in the 70s? And did you play with a guy named Mike Burnup?
I sure did. He was tight end. He was a year ahead of me. Great friend of mine. And it was different. It was different. You know, segregation was just getting started at Virginia Tech at then. And we had very, very few minority players, black players. And one happened to be my roommate, James Barber. So it was very different. You know, we were not affiliated in a conference back then. We were Southern Independent. But Tech we had guys from everywhere: Pittsburgh, Philly, New York, North Carolina, Atlanta. We had guys from everywhere at Tech, and it was. I love the Hokies. I'll be a Hokie for life. I won't be anything else for life, but I'll be a damn Hokie for life. I know that.
Hokie Nation representing. Great question, Herb.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, and he's had back down there in the 70s. It was like a lot of the diverse. He learned to be diverse and and that's the mountains of Virginia down there. Blacksburg was out there. So thanks for Mike. For me talk to Bruce. So it's 7:51 here on the program, and my internet just decided to do a funky stuff. We're still here. All right, cool. I'm Chris Seidel. That's George Bashura, and that's you and McCreeve down there in Charlotte. So thanks for joining us here. And 7:52 Eastern Time. In a couple minutes, I'll fire up the phone lines and get our good friend Chuck Foreman to join us from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we'll see what's going on here.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm going to ask Chuck when we have him on. Chris, I just loved his his running style. I watched, I think, 3-4 highlight reels of him. Man, there's nothing this guy couldn't do. But I'm interested to hear, and I'm going to ask him, what running back in today's NFL emulates his running style the most. So I'm interested to hear that, George. But, hey, let me tell you something. As a former offensive lineman, I want a guy like him in my backfield breaking tackles.
You need a big hole, by the way, for that kind of guy.
Hey, I'll open her up, George. I'll open her up. But you know what, guys? Hey, if we got a few minutes, real quick, Herbie, George, let me ask you,
exactly.
who has more rushing yards in the Super Bowl? Leonard Fournette, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Who do you think, George?
Right, cool. Back on the air here.
Fournette.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into those props, Herbie. Make sure you empty out the, get the change from the couch, take the second mortgage on the house. Don't pay your student loans this month.
There we go.
Help it all out. I'm going to give you some absolutely incredible locks. I wonder who Chuck is going to pick for the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't know. He's an AFC. He's an NFC type guy. Shitting up my freaking problem.
Herbie, did you have another interview?
We're just having some little internet hiccups here. So, let me play one more, and then I'll get Chuck on the phone here. Folks, thanks for joining us here this evening. We are experiencing a little hiccup here on the at the home day. Thanks for tuning in. So, I guess we'll talk. We'll bring in to talk to Mike Cardwell, who is one of the coaches for Bruce Arians, and he actually has a Maryland-Baltimore Ravens connection because he played for the Ravens for the first year here in Baltimore. So here it is.
Title.
Hi, Coach Caldwell.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing good. We are located in Baltimore, and you were with the Ravens for 1 year in 1996. What was it like being there when their first season, and why did you even stick around for a couple more years?
Well, it was all about the move from Cleveland, going to Baltimore. If you think back, it was the first year we went from Cleveland to Baltimore, and you went from one great fan base to another one. And it was just the experience was it was really unique because they were so passionate about wanting us there, and we ended up playing that season. And I think the start of something.
That happens pretty frequently, George, with coaches moving on. I think that's one reason why Clemson's so good every year is because they retain all their assistant coaches. Unmute yourself, George. There we go.
I do this at work too, by the way, all the time. This is why you're right. The programs are successful is because coaches, they're invested and they're all in for what the program has to offer. They're not worried about what's down the road for them or what's out there for them. They want to be part of the recipe for success.
Yeah, it's great too, George. I mean, I love coaches that, I mean, look at Joe Judge. He's special teams. He went from special teams. Of course, he did some other coaching, but to a head coaching job. And it says a lot about, where the organization that you come from, the respect that you have around the league. And I mean, gosh, if you just get your foot in the door, like special teams to head coach, wow.
That's amazing.
It is. Herbie, how you doing, pal? We're ready for Chuck.
Yeah, I'm going to Chuck on the phone. So I'll hold on a second. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So Ewan, it's just very weird. We always talk about there's never been a home team, a team to play at home, and it just is a coincidence. It's Tom Brady.
Oh, man, don't start with those conspiracy theories. Come on, George.
No. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. I was saying it's just weird how a team like Tampa Bay, they're hosting the Super Bowl and it's never been done before. And if they don't bring Tom Brady in, it probably doesn't happen.
I think it's safe to say it doesn't happen, George. But it's a great story. I love the story within the story, George. So it's great for the city of Tampa. I mean, this is a before their run with John Gruden and then Coach Dungy, they were very competitive. But before that, this is a franchise that has been soaked in mediocrity.
It's all about making the right coaching decisions, player decisions, and management moves. It's got to. I mean, in a sport like to get here, all the stars have to align. You have all these interworking pieces, and it's all got to work together. And I'll be honest with you, I think that was kind of the downfall of the Steelers this year. I think that was it Juju doing the TikTok stuff and dancing? Yeah. Dude, play your game on the field and let that be your talking. Don't be known for the guy doing TikTok and going to the 50-yard line and dancing on a team's logo, because all you're going to do is fire up a team. Yeah, teams that don't have that are the successful.
Yeah, this is what live radio is sometimes. So, folks, I got Chuck Foreman here on the phone with us, former Minnesota Viking and former Frederick High School cadet who played high school football here in Frederick, Maryland. So, we're here based in Maryland. So and also a former Miami Hurricane. So, Chuck, thanks for joining us. Talk about what's going on this week. How are you doing in Minnesota?
Well, it's not as cold as it normally is, that's for sure. But, we are somewhat getting ready for the Super Bowl, here in my house. But other than that, I'm just doing what everybody else is doing, trying to stay safe.
That's cool. Yeah, I was some research on you this past week and found out you're from Frederick, Maryland. So we're here in Baltimore County. So it's pretty much you're almost like a neighbor to us. Frederick is just only like,
right.
Yeah. And you had a big game against a high school that I went to in Beller High School back in the late 60s. So talk to the folks about that game. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me?
Talk about that game that you scored 4 touchdowns against Beller High School.
Yeah, that was quite some time ago. And we were going to get. Yeah, I think they ranked number 1 in the state at the time. I didn't pick up my dog.
That's okay.
But they, we had a good game against those guys, and it turned out to be, for me, having 4 touchdowns. It was, a good game.
That's cool.
Hey, Chuck, it's so awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I've got to tell you, Chuck, I was born in 72, so I didn't get a chance to really encapsulate your skills as a football player, but I got a chance to watch some tape on you, man. I tell you what, Chuck, you brought it all to the table. Is there a running back in the NFL now who you say, when that guy runs kind of like me? Chuck, you still with us?
They were that person back, back when I was kind of growing up anymore. Bobby Mitchell, people like that. And then I got to college, it was Jim Kirsten. Plus, our coaches, I played, you played where they told you to play. You just didn't where you wanted to play. So I played tight end and defensive tackle and
Go ahead, George.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, you're still here. We still have Chuck Foreman here on the program. We're having a little technical difficulty. You got a scholarship for playing football down at University of Miami. Did you get a football scholarship or a basketball scholarship?
No, I got a football scholarship. I had plenty of football scholarships. Basketball back when I was coming up, I knew, I don't know, I had a passion for basketball. I knew it was going to be football. So that's what I chose to do. I played my freshman at the University of Miami, but after that, I didn't.
Miami was not the powerhouse that you knew in the early 80s when they won 4 national championships, with Jimmy Johnson. But you said to me on the phone, you guys set the groundwork for that.
Well, first of all, let me clarify something. University of Miami they were ranked right up there in the top 10, 20. Dave Simpson at USC, we had a guy by the name of Ted Hendricks. At the time, he was an All-American linebacker, and they were game of the year. When I got there, we worked hard, but we had a lot of talent down there. So, and then when I got there, of course, the guy named Willie Allen was the first black basketball down there. He's from Rockville, Maryland. So when I got to the University of Miami, integration was just starting to happen in the southern.
Okay. So basically, you got down there, and you were part of the thing. So okay, cool, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So started. That's when the doors opened, and then a couple of years later, we were recruiting black athletes from all over.
Mm-hmm. Miami, you played 4 different positions besides being cornerback one year, then you were a running back, and then in your final season you were a wide receiver. So I guess you were Mr. I'll fill anything and help anybody else.
Well, pretty much athletically, where I grew up, like I said, we had a lot of great athletes, and like I said, I coached. So when they really moved me at the University of Miami, it was because of my athletic ability, my ability to do everything. And so, we playing against someone, back then. But, I thought for me, anyway, and it was so. He was out in the whole draft. Now when they draft you for a position. You either running back, you're a linebacker, or do whatever. But when I got to the Minnesota Vikings, where do you want to play? You want to play corner? You want to play wide receiver? Or you want to play running back? And that doesn't happen anymore like that. So I chose to be a runner.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, any other questions for Chuck? Hopefully, I get somebody here. All
Chuck,
right.
who you picking
All right.
on
Well,
Sunday?
Chuck, thank you so much for joining us
No
on.
problem.
Yeah. Well, real quick,
All right, man.
Who are you picking on Sunday for the Super Bowl?
I want Tampa Bay because I like Tom Brady because I think he's one of the finest people in the game. But I think the young man is going to pull it off in Mahomes. So I'm going for Kansas City. My heart's with Tampa Bay.
All right, cool. Well, Chuck, thanks so much. We'll get you on the. We'll have you on the show.
All right, stay in touch, fellas. Be good.
All right, thank you so much. All right, folks. Sorry about the technical difficulties there with Chuck Foreman, who the head coach of the not the head coach, the running back for. He could be a head coach, if he wanted to. He played for Minnesota and played for Frederick. So, yeah. Sorry about the connection here at the studio here. So we'll work on that down the road. So it's 8:08 here on a Wednesday. Thanks for logging in. I'm Chris Heidel. George Fischera is in Indiana, and Ewan McCreef is down right now in Charlotte, but he'll be in Tampa sometime in the near future. So it was a great little interview there. It's just sad we didn't have a great connection to him. So anyway, we just got to be upbeat and move on here, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, did either of you guys hear? Did he mention a running back? Did either of you guys hear who he mentioned?
I was trying to. I heard something, but I think because I was trying to get the volume up because I'm having a hard time with this internet here. It's just this computer is just having issues today. So, but we're doing okay. Yeah, I think I'll listen to it a little bit. What do you say?
I said I didn't hear what he said.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out down the road. I'll watch the replay, folks. So anyway, coming up at 8:15, we got time now. We can talk about other things in the Super Bowl. What do you think? What about the Super Bowl commercials coming up this weekend? There's no Budweiser, there's no Pepsi. There's no. I think Coke's not in there either. So it's going to be a really weird, commercials for the Super Bowl.
Well, I just wish that. I guess I heard about something about Sam Adams stealing the Budweiser Clydesdale kind of trip for a commercial this year.
It did? I don't know. I never.
No one's going to associate the Clydesdales to the Sam Adams.
Agreed, George. Agreed. You know,
No,
I always want to bring back the Budweiser frogs. You know, my favorite all-time commercial in any Super Bowl are the frogs. What's that? Hey, Herbie, can you see if you can get any of those frogs on the show next week? I want to see how they're doing. It's been a while.
Ewan, it was
What about Bud Bowl? The Bud Bowl 1 and 2. You know what the yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the game. Now it's a war. Bud Bowl 2. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so folks, if you want to go online and vote who you want to see to win the Super Bowl, you can go on our Twitter handle right there, at the bottom, @HerbFM, and we'll talk. Just pick who you want to win the Super Bowl, Chiefs or Buccaneers. So that's the easiest thing in the world. So see right there, you just go on there and you just vote for what's going on. So let's get John Dixon on here. He just logged in. Hopefully the internet's working better for him. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I saw him just logged in here. There he goes. Okay, so let's bring in John Dixon, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs for the Arrowhead Pride. So,
hi guys.
Hi John, can you hear us?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on. We had Chuck Foreman on, and we had a little issue with the audio, but it was all right.
Oh,
that's what
these things happen.
That's what
glad I showed up a few minutes early then.
Yes, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So, talk about this big game down in Tampa. The Chiefs rolling in as the defending champs. And they got everything clicking, and that offense the Chiefs have. It's right away when you give them some time on the field, they could put up points real quick.
Yeah, they do have the ability to score quickly when they want to, when they need to. And the defense is playing pretty well at this point. Got some question marks on the offensive line going into this game against a pretty strong Tampa Bay defense with some good pass rushers on the edge. So that's going to be something to watch in the game. But, the two quarterbacks are the story. Tom Brady, the absolute greatest of all time, against the heir apparent, Patrick Mahomes. So it's going to be quite a game.
Right. And you know what? First of all, John, I love those suspenders, pal. Like, count me in for one of those. Regardless of who wins, I've got to get some Kansas City Chiefs suspenders, buddy. I mean, the apparel is beautiful tonight. But, John, you know what? I was talking to a friend of mine who kind of brought up that same thing. This isn't just a game. This is kind of could be a kind of changing of the guard, if you will, in terms of elite quarterback play and winning the big one. How does Andy Reid? It seems like his team never looks far ahead. Sometimes they get off to slow starts, but how do you see, not the game, but how do you see these two quarterbacks after it's all said and done? Will the kid, the phenom, the heir apparent, as you put it, will he be able to knock off? And will this set off a string, a dynasty? Because quite frankly, the first thing I thought, John, last year when Mahomes signed that contract is that this is the next great dynasty.
Well, that's what I would say, is that ship has already sailed. It doesn't need Patrick Mahomes winning this Super Bowl in order to make that a possibility over the next decade and a half. But this is being portrayed as the game that Mahomes needs to win in order to eventually cement himself as the greatest of all time. But I don't agree with that. I think we're looking at a quarterback who, like Brady, will probably play into his early 40s at least, possibly longer. I mean, who knows how long quarterbacks who take care of themselves are going to play when we get to that point. And the idea that Mahomes wouldn't be able to win 6 or 7 Super Bowls over the course of a 20-plus year career, I don't see how that's even an issue. We get to the point that he's won 6 or 7 Super Bowls. What difference is it going to make whether or not he beat Brady in this particular game?
That's true. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, with Tom Brady, this is just one of the stepping stones for, Patrick Mahomes and in his career, and beating Brady will be really good for his, on his resume. It's not like it's Peyton Manning and Eli, going after it.
Right. And really these two players are not exactly contemporaries. This is taking place at the end of Brady's career and at the beginning of Mahomes' career. This is unprecedented because we've never really had a situation where the greatest of all time plays another player who is a pretender to it. The people who would lay claim to that, people like Johnny Unitas or Joe Montana, had all retired by the time that Brady started playing. So we don't really have anything to compare this to. And that's part of what's driving this narrative, is that everybody's going, oh, well, there must be something hugely important about this game. Well, yeah, it is hugely important because it could set the Chiefs up to repeat as Super Bowl champions for the first time since 2004, which ironically happened when the Patriots beat Andy Reid's Eagles to win their second consecutive Super Bowl. So, there's a lot riding on this game, but I don't think in terms of Mahomes' career, it's going to have all that much bearing on it in the long term. In the short term, certainly. Mahomes wins this game, then people will be ready to absolutely label him as the heir apparent, which is, at least arguable at this point for such a young quarterback. But over the long term, I don't think it's really going to make that much difference.
So, John, before you came on, I was able to do some research and just looking out there on the internet, what stories are circling around the Chiefs. The one story that I saw today was, you want to look good for the Super Bowl, right? And a bunch of folks were going to get a haircut from a barber in the area, and then the barber comes down with COVID.
Yeah,
Wow.
There's a little more nuance to that story than you might imagine. Some of that has just come out today. Late last week, the Chiefs told the team, okay, no more trips to the grocery store, no more trips to the barber. We're all in lockdown. It's facility home only. Because starting over the weekend, if you tested positive for COVID, you were automatically out of the Super Bowl game if you tested positive. So the Chiefs told their players, okay, this is the point where you're going to be in lockdown. You're either in the facility or you're at home or going from one to the other. That's it. And some of the players said, well, we're going to be on TV. We need to get haircuts. So the Chiefs engaged the services of a barber to come out to the facility, and about 20 players were going to get their haircut on Sunday. And they actually went to the trouble of getting this barber tested for 5 days ahead of time to make sure that he was not a carrier of the virus. And they had actually gotten his 5th test back on Sunday morning. He was negative. And just for good measure, they also gave him one of those fast saliva tests. But he went ahead and went to work before they got the results back. Apparently it was slowed down because there were a lot of people getting that day or something. And he had already cut the hair of DeMarcus Robinson and was halfway through cutting Daniel Kilgore's hair when the saliva test came back positive, and they actually took him off the job before he'd finished with Daniel Kilgore, who posted a picture of himself today with his hair half cut off. So it's a terrible story because, you don't want to have this happen. You want to have all the players available for the game.
Yep.
And the good news is that neither of these players have tested positive at this point.
Yep.
And they still have a chance to play in the game. Nobody in the team has tested positive, and I don't believe there's any report that the barber is ill or anything. He just tested positive. But it's just crazy. The Chiefs went to a lot of trouble to make sure these guys could get haircuts. And Patrick Mahomes was among those who was scheduled to get a haircut. So the Chiefs really dodged a bullet on this one. But right now it's just funny.
Well, and I'm sorry that I was laughing, John, but the worst thought did you have when you get a haircut, right? Is that something happens right in the middle of it and you're half baked.
Right, right. That's always the joke about the haircut that finishes that's finished before you're done. Yeah.
So really quick about Andy
Okay.
Reid. I know that I have a Steelers shirt on. I just don't have it. I don't have a favorite Giant at this point in time. But Andy Reid, he was always a great coach out there with the Eagles. We've been talking amongst ourselves in between guests this evening. It's all about front office management, right? It's all about the pieces, and because, as I said, there's all these intermixing pieces that got to fit. Andy Reid went from the guy that couldn't win a Super Bowl to playing in his second one in as many years.
Yeah, it's quite a story. And there was a piece in the Ringer today, one of our SB Nation sister sites, that addressed that particular thing, a long interview with Brett Veach. And he talked about the fact that that he and Andy Reid see eye to eye on things. They understand each other. They understand what each other needs, what the other guy needs. And that's got to play a big part in it. John Dorsey, by all accounts, was an excellent talent evaluator. He did get some great players that are still playing for the Chiefs and are integral parts of this team, but they let him go because there was friction of some kind there. We don't know what it was, and the Chiefs are never going to tell us, but that's the only explanation for it, is that in some way or another, things just weren't meshing backstage. And there's just no sign of that with Veach. He and Reid have been together in some form or another for, I think, 16 or 17 years now, and they understand each other and trust each other, and therefore Veach is able to give Reid what he wants and vice versa, and now we see the results of that.
Hey, John, I want to ask you, we know about the big name players, but, when I go to the track, I'm always hitting the underdog, man. I want to pay out on those odds. Give me a player, either side of the ball, makes an impact play that is not one of those primetime players, offense or defense. Who could it be?
Daniel Sorensen.
Oh, I love those fullbacks, baby. Come on. Come on, John.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Safety Daniel Sorensen. He has a habit of making big plays and big moments in big games. He's an undrafted free agent, came to the Chiefs in 2013, same year Reid arrived. Brigham Young, too old and too slow to be an effective safety, anybody will tell you. But still, in these big moments, he makes the big play, makes the game-sealing interception, or something like that. Last season in the game against the Houston Texans, he made 2 plays in the space of a minute and a half that played the biggest role in erasing that 24-point deficit that the Chiefs eventually completely erased by halftime and went on to win the game. So that's a name to watch in any Chiefs game as long as Sorensen is playing.
I was hoping you were going to say Anthony Sherman, the fullback, because I love that guy. He does everything.
I'm right there with you. But if you were looking for somebody to bet on, and I wouldn't bet on Anthony Sherman at this point. I mean, he's a fantastic special teams player. He's definitely a key player on that unit, but he's not the guy that's going to make those plays. That's Sorensen.
All right. Mark it.
You heard it here first.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Ken, thanks for coming on tonight. Your prediction. What's the final score on Sunday? Chiefs walk out with the winner, or is it going to be another overtime?
Man, I have, these two teams on paper are really close, and but the game isn't played on paper, and I think that these matchups where the people aren't actually playing against each other, like Mahomes and Brady and Kelsey and Gronkowski and Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans, I think the Chiefs have the edge in those players. So it's really going to come down to how well the Chiefs' makeshift offensive line can do against the Tampa Bay defensive front. If they play moderately well, I see the Chiefs as winning this game and beating the spread. But if it's a disaster, On the offensive line, it could be really close. The good news for the Chiefs is even if he's getting pressure, Patrick Mahomes can still play exceptionally well. So that's what the Chiefs have going for him. But otherwise, I think the Chiefs have the edge in this game, and I expect it to be fairly high scoring.
Okay. High scoring affair down in Tampa. I'm pretty used to that. And they're not talking about the Tampa Bay Devil Rays or the Rays playing baseball. There's no high scoring there. Yeah.
There's no attendance either.
Yeah, that's true. They got more people at the game than traffic came to the field. Well, John, thanks so much for being part of tonight, and enjoy the game and have fun.
I appreciate being on with you guys. Had a good time. Thank you.
Be safe.
Thanks so much, John. Take care. Go Chiefs.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks.
Wow.
Thanks for coming in here. Yeah, that was John here. Let me remove him from the program. Thanks for joining us here on Uski and Herbie, 826. And that's going to be that's an interesting side of the football, and I forgot to ask him a question about Sammy Watkins. That's also another question. Is he going to be one of Patrick Mahomes' wide receivers on Sunday?
Oh, he's playing for sure. But I'm going to tell you something. Anthony Sherman, big block, a sneaky tight end, sneaky little shovel pass, a goal-to-goal situation. He might score a touchdown, George. Andy Reid likes to reward those guys.
Yes, he does.
Give me a tackle-eligible play in the Super Bowl, baby. Come on. Throw it to one of the big fellas, George. Let me see those hands, George. You got them? Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout-out. Sorry, guys. I want to give a shout-out to my niece, Karis, who is watching us live in Tampa, and my brother, Gilly. And hopefully Arden's there with his wife, Dina. So big shout-out to Tampa. See you soon.
All right. Coming up in 4 minutes, we'll have somebody from Tampa to come on and talk about the Buccaneers. The Bucs Nation will join us. Evan Winters will be joining us hopefully in 3 minutes. And then at 8:45, we got a special interview coming up here. We have the wife of Demario Davis, who is the winner of the Bart Star Award. That means they're good Samaritan, helps in the community. This was made a couple of years ago with Bart Starr, who passed away last year. They're going to keep his memory alive with this. And Tampa Davis will be joining us, and we'll talk to her about what this award means for her and her family, and Demario making a trip down to Tampa on Sunday to get the award.
Looking forward to that. We always talk about athletes and the impact they make on the field, but hey, this guy does it all over the place, especially making an impact, a pillar of the community down in New Orleans, George.
And Ewan, we talk about here at Shakedown the Thunder Sports, it's about beyond playing sports. Life's not all about the sport. It's all about what's going on off the field.
Exactly, I agree. It's the sports helps the communities out where places when like here in Baltimore City and the inner city, it helps get the community together and helps kids get them to have that opportunity to go play sports somewhere down the road.
But guys, there's going to be a Super Bowl on Sunday in a year of a pandemic.
And there's going to be a few fans there too, George. So I'm thankful for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If we knew about that, we would have brought Ewan down there and let him store the field, trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, it's all the healthcare workers, and we appreciate their hard work. They're there doing it every day with this pandemic going on, and it's scary out there. I had a friend, Steve Zulich, my buddy, just a week ago, tested positive for COVID. He's fine. He's been living in a hotel room for a week, but he's just telling me how he caught it ahead of time and all that stuff. It's don't mess around with it, people. It's legit.
Yeah, it's crazy. We won't get political on here, George, but let's just say I'm thankful for football. There were so many questions on whether or not we would have a Super Bowl, whether we could get through the season, George. So it's amazing to have the big games, and it's great that there will be some fans. But I'm a little upset that there won't be any cannons, George. Come on.
Well, we were actually talking earlier in the week, Ewan, that you have these guys that have been on these streaks of going to consecutive Super Bowls as a fan. And this year, those guys are done. It's over. The pandemic has crushed their streak. Pandemic 1, those guys 0.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody who went to every Super Bowl, now they have to stay home. And it's like us in the media. I haven't covered a game since March. I think it was March 6th, my birthday last year. And then now I'm in home doing this on Zoom. And I've been very thankful because I said to my mother and my girlfriend, like, if we didn't have a pandemic, I don't think I'll ever be able to talk to Bruce Arians and all those people, because I'll be won't be approved. So I'm thankful for that.
There's always a silver lining someplace.
Absolutely. Yes. Hey, any word on Evan?
He should be. I talked to him this morning. And I said, "You got the link?" He's like, "All set." Let me text him, make sure he didn't fall asleep. So, let me send him a message. So let me. You guys let's talk about the Deshaun Watson trade. Where do you think he should go? Oh, anyway, here's Evan. I didn't have to send him a message. Hold on 1 second. There it is, Evan.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Evan.
Hey, Evan Rivers. How you doing, Evan? Thanks for joining us this evening. Thanks for coming on. And big game is this weekend down in Tampa. Home cooking for the visitors. They should be in their home. They should be in their home locker room.
Yeah, man. Literally hosting the Super Bowl. It's quite a feat. I mean, there's literally nothing Tom Brady can do or accomplish.
We literally had that second a few moments. We had that conversation a couple seconds ago.
Perfect timing then, man. Yeah, it's insane what he's done in this first year. And I mean, it's been quite the ride. So I can't wait to see how it all ends on Sunday.
Oh, hey, Evan, by the way, great name. If you put your V to a U, that would be my name, Ewan. So thanks so much for coming on. Evan, we talk so much about normally it's in the sense of coaches. The coaches come in. We throw the word culture around like it's, like it's buying a hot dog at Yankee Stadium in a non-pandemic year. But, Evan, what has it really meant when his presence, his hardware, his work ethic? Talk to us, take us into One Buck Place and talk to us how Tom, just with his presence, has changed things in Tampa.
I mean, just by winning alone has changed it tremendously. He's given this franchise a new hope, and he's just really instilled a mentality that you're never out of the game. I was actually talking about this last week just as somebody who watches Tom Brady and follows him now on a closer basis. I literally know what it feels like to be a Patriots fan over the last 20 years. You literally feel almost bulletproof. You know that at the end of the day, you're always going to have a shot to win, and most likely you are going to win if Tom Brady is your quarterback. And that's the kind of the mentality, as I said, that he's instilled in these guys, and also his work ethic. I mean, it's bar none. There were guys a couple weeks ago, players talking about how Tom Brady his vehicle was the only one at $1 at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. Just he's a grinder. He's never out of the building unless he feels like he has done his day's worth of work. And that's obviously the ultimate identity, the ultimate trait of a champion, a guy who's just absolutely relentless. And then you even have the quote from Levante David that came out today saying how one of the teammates were crying after the NFC Championship game, and Brady went up to him and said, "What are you doing? We still got more to do." So dude just never stops. He's relentless, and that's exactly what he's instilled in his teammates.
You know what would have been great if he said there's no crying in football.
Got to change it, right? He's already a trendsetter. Why not just change one more trend?
Exactly. So, Evan, I'm formerly from the Northeast, and I'm a Giants fan and a Steelers fan, but always first a Giants fan. There was one thing that was always very difficult was the folks that jumped on the Patriots bandwagon when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick came along. We talked at the beginning of the show about who needed who, right? There was a camp that says that Brady needed Belichick, and Belichick needed Brady. with Brady picking up shop, I mean, basically the Patriots just said, "See you later, Tom. Thank you very much for your services," right? And he's taking his ball down south, right? What's your thought on the Belichick Brady relationship, and how did that probably drive Tom to where he is today?
We've come a long way from week 1 when the Patriots beat the Dolphins and the Bucs lost to the Saints, and all the memes were coming out, Belichick saying "miss me yet" and all this other stuff. It's obviously a very small sample size compared to 20 years, 1 year compared to 20. But at the end of the day, just based off of what we know and what we've seen so far, you've got to think Brady is the engine that drove the New England Cadillac, or whatever vehicle you want to put in place of Cadillac. And I think on a personal level, they're fine, because you don't have that much success with somebody and then all of a sudden just turn around and turn heel on them. Although we have seen that in a few relationships in the NFL, namely T.O. and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, I really think that Brady just wanted to try something different. He wanted a change of scenery, and B, he kind of wanted to create his own legacy. And the Patriots helped enable that by really not getting him the help that he needed. I mean, he knew he could still play last year, even though he didn't look great most of the time. He knew what he can do. He knew what he's capable of. He knew that he just needed a few more pieces, a little bit extra help, and Tampa Bay had that, and it all just worked out perfectly.
Yeah. We're here with Evan Winters, who writes for the Bucs Nation. Evan, what was the feeling like when you back when free agency was last year, and you saw a report that Tom Brady is heading down to Tampa? Were you kind of like doing a double check on, are you sure he's going there, or this is somebody playing a game with me? What was your reaction to that when you saw that? Because with me, with some sports teams, like I'm a Met fan, I see, when they were coming to Citi Field, I'm like, oh, come on, get out of town, stop that. So, what was your feeling like when you got you saw it was official?
Well, real quick, my whole dad's side is from Jersey, and they're both Giants and Mets fans. So big shout out to the Big Blue and all that good stuff. But man, honestly, about the week before it actually happened, I do a prediction piece for Bucs Nation, like a free agency prediction piece, and one of my predictions was Tom Brady was going to sign with the Bucs. There towards the end, so I mean, it was surprising, but it wasn't entirely surprising. There towards the end of, well, not towards the end, I should say the beginning of free agency, rather, there was so much steam, there was so much momentum picking up towards that signing happening, and we even got a tip at the website that he was calling calling Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and other quarterbacks and asking them about Bruce Arians' playbook. Once we got that little bitty tip, that to me was enough. Now, granted, we never went public with it or anything like that. That's not how we really do our sources. But once we got that tip, man, that just right there, it kind of put me all in. Like I said, at the end of the day, it was a little bit of surprise, but not much. But still, I can understand why people would be surprised at the move, because Tampa Bay has the worst winning percentage all time in NFL franchise or in NFL history. So why would the most winning quarterback of all time, who has 6 Super Bowls, go to a historically losing franchise? Just doesn't make sense. But hey, it happened.
Evan, first of all, next time we have you on, I want that guitar in your hand. I want to know your go-to song, baby. That's how we bring you in the show. That's the first thing.
Man. It'll be like my walk-up. It'll be like WWE walk-up music.
I'm in. Evan, we know about the superstars. I asked a guest we had earlier from Arrowwood Pride. Give me a player that's under the radar, not someone that we verbally know or would recognize, who makes a big play in this game to turn some momentum, to turn the tide. Who is that player on either side of the ball?
Cameron Brate on offense for sure. How Tampa Bay utilized their tight end, especially Rob Gronkowski in Week 12, was very effective. And the Chiefs are going to blitz the crap out of the Bucs. Cameron Brate is going to be that hot receiver a lot of times, and they're probably going to leave Gronk into the block a lot like they have throughout the playoffs. So Cameron Brate, I would not be surprised at all if he makes some big plays. And then on defense, you got to look at a guy like a Will Golston, who's going to really benefit from Vita Vea's return. He's going to get more one-on-one matchups, and he honestly, if the stat still holds up, the last time I checked, he was still in the top 10, but he was in the top 10 of ESPN's pass rush win rate. So the dude, when he's on the field now, he's only on there about 45% of the time. But like I said, Vita Vea's return, whenever the Bucs go in their base personnel, Will Golston, do not be surprised if he gets a good rush on the inside of that Chiefs offensive line and is able to get to Mahomes.
I think, Herbie, are you muted?
Yeah, I'm muted.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Thanks for coming on tonight. Talk about who's your prediction for the game? What's the final score? Who do you pick to bring it home on Sunday?
So after watching tape on these two teams, man, I said my bold prediction on BucsNation.com. I think this is going to be a defensive game. Obviously, I will not be surprised if it's a shootout. But what these two defenses do, how well they've been playing out of the last 2 weeks, what these two defensive coordinators like to do, and Todd Bowles, Steve Spagnuolo, they both love to attack the quarterback. And then you look at Kansas City's offensive line issues. You look at the return of Vita Vea. Jamel Dean, one of the Tampa Bay's cornerbacks, was not in the Week 12 matchup. I just think, and then the weather forecast as well, I think this game, it's going to be a tough game. There's going to be a lot of incompletions, a lot of broken plays in terms of defense, getting after quarterbacks, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, man, I felt really good about the Bucs last week, but unfortunately that feeling has not prevailed into the week when it matters the most. And right now I've got Chiefs 23-20.
Ooh, it's gonna leave a mark. That's gonna leave a mark. Get that guitar out, man. Stop. That's it, man. Play me a sad country song, man. You're killing me, Evan.
The U is much better than the V now, right? There's a reason it comes first in the alphabet.
Please stop.
Oh man, it's good stuff, Evan. Good stuff, man.
Good stuff, Evan.
Thank you for coming on, and have a great enjoy your Super Bowl.
Yeah, guys, have fun, be safe this weekend, and we'll talk soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Evan.
See you. Take it easy.
All right, folks. That's Evan Winters of
So Ewan,
Yes.
that's pretty big. A guy who writes for Bucs Nation.
I know. It's sinking in, George.
That's huge.
It is. He says Kansas City wins, but they don't cover.
But you know what? He's being unbiased. And that's
Bucs
true.
Nation on.
That's true reporting.
It sure is. Unlike you, when you're like, anytime Notre Dame even gets a penalty on them, you're like, the refs are, it's all fixed. The refs don't know what they're saying. Oh, goodness.
Exactly. All right, guys, I'm back on here. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to take a look at the connections here. But Ewan, let's introduce the next guest. Can you introduce him to the world here?
This is Tamala Davis. Miss Davis, thank you so much for your time. First of all, I am a proud member of Who Dat Nation. I spent 5 years in Louisiana, in Metairie, right close to New Orleans.
Oh.
So how are you? How did you end up obviously in New Orleans? Talk about the people and the atmosphere there.
Man, New Orleans is a special place. It's extremely, extremely unique. The team is certainly an extension of the city. And it's like nowhere we've ever been, honestly. We bounce around a little bit. And New Orleans is by far one of my favorite cities. I love the team. I love the people from ownership down. It's just a unique place. They celebrate really hard. They love their team so much. So we love it here.
Tamala, one of the things that we talk about, we've been in sports for so long. We always talk about role models. I remember I asked John Lynch, the former Buccaneer safety, what does it feel like when you drive in Tampa and you see a young kid with your jersey And it's just got to be something special because your husband takes immense pride in what he does, just as much as what he does, if not more, off the field than he does on. Tell me what it's like, tell me what you guys have done in the community, and please pass along our congratulations. If there's a city in the world that's been hit with, I know firsthand, I was a Hurricane Katrina evacuee, but talk a little bit about the things you do off the field with your husband.
Absolutely. We always tell people football is what he does, but it's not who he is. And it's just our ministry. It's our platform to be able to just share God, share just unique opportunities with other people. We love engaging inside the community here in New Orleans, as well as the community back home in Mississippi. We do a series of things from our nonprofit, which is the Devoted Dreamers Foundation, where we kind of focus on impacting inner city youth, just equipping them mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally so that they're able to just really build shatterproof dreams despite, whatever it is they may be going through. But DeMario doesn't really stop there. He goes far and beyond, from, homeless shelters to, finding opportunities to really feed people or partner with different things that people just may be experiencing. He did a lot with the Flint water crisis. He did a lot of things in the border. So he's just really, really passionate about serving other people, and not just our community, but just people across the world. I think he just really has a heart for people. Yeah.
So Tamela, first of all, I've never heard that name before. That is just absolutely a beautiful name.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I write a blog, Shakedown of Thunder Sports, and our mantra is beyond playing sports. I do a lot of different work with a lot of different charities in the area, and it's so important that these charities, they rely on someone to be their voice, because one, they're typically not for profits. They don't have a lot of funding that comes in, and they're looking for a spokesperson in the area. Mm-hmm. And someone to adopt these different philosophies. I give so much credit to your husband for doing these things. We need more people like that in this world.
Thank you. You know what? I totally agree. And I think the way to implement that sort of change is it's very essential for people to learn how to, I think, have empathy and not just sympathize with people, but really put yourself in that person's shoes. And when you do that, it transforms your heart and you're able to really see the need. And then you're also willing to dig deep to figure out the ways that you can impact and engage these individuals. I think a lot of times people think it's just all about, making this large donation or, something to write off. And it's bigger than that. We love to be on the ground with the people, being extremely visible and just showing them and giving them courage and motivation that, this is just a part of your story and it doesn't have to end here. And just finding different ways, I think, to just invest in them and share just who God is and his sovereignty, and knowing that, this is just a part of the journey, but it could have a different, it could change at any moment,
It's being humble.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Tamela. I greatly appreciate it.
That's true. Damaris, I want to ask you a question. I was doing some research about your husband and about your family and all that stuff. He's a cousin of Steve McNair, who used to play a lot of quarterback here in Baltimore and Tennessee. And sadly he passed away with a situation in 2007 around there. What did he teach DeMario how to play football, and how did he show him, and how he make him become a great NFL like a professional?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I really remember DeMario just kind of mentioning about Steve is that he would always come home and he would always find opportunities to connect with them. He was very young when Steve was playing, but some of his vivid memories is him passing the ball to him, just in the street and just being just a genuine, authentic individual, but also encouraging them as little boys that, whatever dreams that you have, they don't have to stop here. And, people may try to discourage you or stand in the way, but it's essential for you to take that dream and, just manifest it to the best of your ability.
By the way, it is Tamala, correct?
Yes, Tamala.
Okay, there we go. I want to make sure the other guy, I have a unique name, Ewan, and everyone's like Juan or Evan. First of all, before I get to my question, how is Carly Faith doing?
Carly Faith is doing amazing. It's just one of those just unfortunate situations that our family just really had to journey through. And it's nothing that, anyone could effectively prepare you for. But in that, we were just able to see God's faithfulness. We were able to just really, I think, cling to our faith and cling to God's truth and see him work on our behalf in so many different ways. She's thriving, she's growing, she's now cancer-free. And so
Amen.
It's a good journey for sure.
Absolutely. I'll say this one thing from Coming to America, one of my favorite movies. If loving the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right. And I'm going to text you I need a king cake up here like yesterday. All right. Let's make
I have to tip you one for sure.
We talk about the Lord, but for people that go through certain things that don't have the faith, or that don't have, that kind of foundation. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about how you and your husband got together and, you clearly both have a servant's heart. How did you first kind of get things going in the community? What was the first step?
Well, the first step was just sitting down and planning. We're big on planning and just pouring out our hearts. And we had to establish, what are we both passionate about? And how is it that we can impact other people? How is it that we can show people who don't understand what an authentic relationship with Christ look like? How can they see that in us by the way that we serve, by the way that, we just show up and always giving God, I think, the honor and the praise. And so in that, they're able to see that, they may not believe, but they see something different inside of us. And when they are able to identify, what is it that's so different? What is it that's, tugging their hearts in these different charitable events or whatever the case may be? It's like, it's not us. It's the God that lives inside of us. And the more you're around us, you'll be able to identify that. And, we're open to sharing that and teaching you.
Awesome.
So Tamela, to ask you one more question, what was it like for you and your husband to be around the Brees family? To me, Drew Brees is one of the great guys in the NFL. What was that like to be around, in his presence?
You know what? It was a very unique opportunity. The Brees family is extremely amazing. They are so impactful inside of the New Orleans community, but they don't stop here. They're reaching people in so many different areas across the U.S. and even outside of this country. And so it was a unique opportunity to just be able to see someone who's gone before you, someone who, has been in the game a long time, someone who's very passionate about their faith, about their family, but also about the game, and to just really pick their brains and learn from them and let them lead by example. I'm always a big advocate for having someone who walks above you, beside you, and beneath you. And it was just so good for us to get that time with them over the last few years.
Thank you.
Awesome. Tamela, make sure you give DeMario our best, and we will certainly keep Carly Faith in our prayers. And we're just so thankful for your time. It's just great and very just honorable to meet you and to see the lives you're affecting. The treasures that you have up there are going to be absolutely tremendous. So we just really appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope you all tune in to the Super Bowl breakfast.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Be safe.
Thank you so much. All right, folks. Yeah, if you want to watch DeMario getting his award, it's on virtual this year. So it's on Super Bowl Breakfast Online Special Sunday morning at 7 a.m. we're going to be up at 7 a.m. to watch that on Facebook.com/athletes-in-action. So that's going to be a very good everybody's going to be there. You know, James Brown from CBS is going to be there, along with other NFL players as well. So, and even the Bart Starr family, who I had a chance to talk to Bart Starr twice, you know, when he was alive. And I have a funny story to tell you folks. When I met him the second time, I go, "Hey, I met you at in Baltimore for the one of the conventions." He looks at me and goes, "I'm Bart Starr." "Yes, I know you're Bart Starr. Yes, I know." And he goes, and I shook his hand. He goes, I was like, "Yeah, I interviewed you a couple years ago." He goes, "I'm Bart Starr. We established that. We got that. We got it. We're good." Yeah. I don't know if he heard me or something, but it was like my friend was next to me. I think you were there, Ewan, or somebody was there going, "What the heck is going on here?" You know, like, I guess the dementia from getting hit, you know, so many times in football, or or he couldn't hear me, or I don't know, but it was, he was a nice guy. I had a chance to talk to him, and he was really cool, So,
Chris, for our viewers, is that 7 a.m. Eastern time, or is that 7 a.m. Central time?
7 a.m. Eastern time, because it's down in Tampa. So
Okay,
Eastern.
I wanted to make sure because it said 7 a.m. So
yeah, let me fix that for everybody. Hold on, let me fix it. So, folks, thanks for tuning in on the program. We've been fighting sorry for the connections here with the internet. I mean, I guess because of the weather and all that stuff, we have around here. So, thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Seidel. That's George Bashera and Ewan, who is getting a nice cold glass of water. And that's not Ewan, folks. He's not Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
Chris,
Let you all know that.
What a great guest Tamela was.
Yes, it was. It was great that you guys had. Yeah.
That was good stuff.
Good. It was good to have you on. Yeah.
Because
we try to bring stuff.
Go ahead.
No, I feel like we bring a lot of cool things on the program. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
And who's up next?
Well, we got we're waiting at 9:05. We got Charlene Williams, who covers for Pro Football Talk. We'll talk, Deshaun Watson, NFL with her. She does a lot of national media. And then around 9:20, Howard BALZER will be joining us from Sirius XM Radio. He does a lot of stuff for the Cardinals and throughout the NFL. We'll talk a little more of the Super Bowl with him. So we got two major writers in the national media joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. So, and then we'll have Ewan's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll have Ewan's, picks and his money and all that stuff that he needs to save his cash. Yeah, because he's moving.
Scared money don't make money, Herbie.
Exactly.
Do you want to promote the Sunday show?
Yeah, well, I was going to do a Sunday. I know you're in transit to, I don't know where you're going to be, but we're going to do is I did some interviews this afternoon with some of the Buccaneers and some Chiefs players. I got Dominic Sue on, talked to him for a couple minutes. Yeah, that guy's a beast. Yeah, I know he used to step on Aaron Rodgers a lot. Yes, when he was in Detroit. Yeah, and then I've talked to some other players as well. So we're gonna plus whatever we got tomorrow with the NFL stuff, the media stuff. So that'll be Sunday just for an hour, starting at 3 o'clock, right here on Herbie on here on StreamYard, just to get everybody ready for the big game. Kickoff should be around 6:15, but the NFL will be 6:30 by the time they finish the coin flip and the anthem and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I wanted to let you guys know because I will not have a home. I will not be available for Sunday's show. And next Wednesday, most likely I will be. But yeah, hey, it's you can never get enough talk about the Super Bowl, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it'd be cool to talk about all these interviews. Yeah. I get some access this week with the Bruce Arians and all that stuff. Thanks to the NFL for giving us an opportunity for that. That was very nice of them. That was a special gift that I didn't even think I will be allowed to do. But yeah, we'll talk about all that. But Ewan, you should videotape your trip down to Tampa. Yeah, that'll be a great you went on the road.
I know. I should be heading out. On Saturday when I move out. But Tampa's a beautiful city, and George, once I get established there, pal, you and the wife and the kids, you guys can stay with me, go to Disney, what have you, pal. But just don't bring that Steelers jersey down there, okay? Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'll bring my cowboy hat.
Oh, now you're talking. And those boots, pal. Absolutely.
Exactly. I'll bring myself down. We're waiting for Charlene Williams to join us from Pro Football Talk. She should be logging in at 9:05. So I emailed them all today. So
Sharian, maybe.
Sharian.
Yeah, Sharian Williams. But that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to get. So we got a couple. That's amazing, George. The Buccaneer guy picks the Chiefs, and of course, Arrowwood.
Unbiased media coverage. I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. No question. He says take the 3.5 with the Buccaneers, Herbie. That's what he says.
Okay. Yeah, I'll run my nearest casino up in Perryville, so I'll go there real quick. I don't think we got sport bet. Yeah. I don't think the state of Maryland has that. So, folks, if you want to go on Twitter right now and send us figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl this week, go on our Twitter page right now. We're killing some time here. Who will win Super Bowl 55? Go on our Twitter page at HerbFM and let us know who you think is going to win. Right now in the clubhouse, if it ended today, we have Kansas City Chiefs in the lead, 75% to Tampa, 25%. But we'll get that shortly. So, Dylan, let's bring in the next guest. I want to get you to bring these guests in for me because I'm having some internet issues. Let's bring in, here she is. So, Ewan, here we go.
Is it Sharian?
Sheree.
Sheree?
Sheree.
Oh, hi, Sheree. Welcome to
Herb. There we go. Thanks for coming on, Sheree. Thank you so much. I like that Dallas jersey in the back. That's pretty cool. Nice Dallas Cowboys.
Got me a Roger Staubach jersey. That was my hero growing up.
It's a great hero.
Nice. Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on. We're going to talk NFL with you from all the way from the Deshaun Watson trade. I think he's thinking about leaving Houston to go to somewhere else. What do you think about that situation in Houston? They got a new coach. The guy came from the Ravens, and Deshaun Watson is still not happy.
Yeah, I go back about 30 years with David Culley. We were together at Texas A&M and then again at Tampa Bay when I began my NFL career with the Buccaneers. So we've followed each other's careers throughout, and David and I remain close, and I've talked to him a couple times since he took the job, and he's insistent that they're not going to trade Deshaun Watson. Now, everything we've heard from Deshaun Watson's camp is he's not going to play for the Texans. So I don't know how this ends. I don't think it's going to end well for the Texans, no matter what they do. I mean, when you consider Deshaun Watson had one of the greatest years we've seen of any quarterback. And if he had won more than 4 games, we would be talking about him for MVP. But we're not because they won 4 games. So either way, this is a team that's a long way from contending. You almost feel like they should probably hit that reset button, get as many picks as they can out of Deshaun Watson, and start the rebuild because they look a long way off for me to contend. I just don't think they're anywhere close with or without Deshaun Watson.
Perfect lead into my question, Sheree. We talked earlier. I have to tell you, I'll tell you the statement that I made. The Detroit Lions and the LA Rams, excuse me, and the Rams. This trade, I believe, will go down as the best front office move that Detroit has made since drafting Barry Sanders. I watched the game. I'm a student of the game. I've covered the game. I don't know why they gave so much to, in my opinion, get so little. What are your thoughts on this blockbuster trade? You know, when you look at first-round draft picks, they are the prize commodity in any NFL franchise. And the next 2 years, first-round picks, your thoughts on this trade?
Well, you're exactly right. I'm one who prefers to build by the draft. And you look at what Les Snead has done with the Rams, and it reminds me of back in the day, the over the hill game with Washington, with George Allen. And now it was a different era. We didn't have the salary cap. We didn't have unfettered free agency. We didn't have any of that stuff. But still, he liked those veteran players. And it almost seems like that's the same thing that the Rams are doing. But, you don't get criticized for having a bad draft if you don't have first-round draft picks. And the last guy he drafted was number 1 overall was Jared Goff. That's the last first-round draft pick that they've had. They've traded those away. And I'm with you that you need those picks. This could be, I stress could, be one of the rare trades. We saw it with Stephon Diggs last year where it worked out for both teams. It could be. But the only way this is a win for the Rams, right, is if they get over the hump and win a Super Bowl. If they do that, it's a win for the Rams. And I definitely think it's a win for the Lions because they needed to hit that reset button. I think they've done that with all these picks. And they have a quarterback. Frankly, Brad Holmes likes what he has seen out of Jared Goff and thinks he can win with him. It's not a Brock Osweiler situation with Cleveland where they're going to cut Jared Goff. Jared Goff is going to be their quarterback for at least the next 2 years, or at least on the roster. So they have him a quarterback. Now they can try to build around who they think is their franchise quarterback of the present and of the future. But to me, there is a ton of pressure on Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay to win and to win now.
So, Shireen, along those lines, and it's hard to believe, here we are Super Bowl week, right? Typically, you want to be about those two teams that are playing in the Super Bowl, and there's all this other news that's going on around the league. Today, J.J. Watt signs with the Chicago Bears. That's just incredible.
J.J. Watt signed with the Bears. What?
J.J. Watt, I thought I saw that he signed with the Bears, but there is discussion about him going to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, there's discussion about it, but he's still under contract with Houston. And until they cut him, he's under contract with Houston. I do think they will cut him because he has a $17.5 million salary, I think. No guaranteed money, won't take any dead money on the cap. I do think they move on from J.J. Watt. I think first they'll probably ask him to take a pay cut because they would love to have J.J. Watt for what he's meant for their organization.
Sure.
In the entire history. I think they'll ask him to take a pay cut. Now, I think he'll refuse to take a pay cut. I think they'll cut him. And to me, the obvious place for J.J. Watt to go is Pittsburgh with his two brothers. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go to Pittsburgh? You have a chance to win and win now. I would expect that's where he ends up if indeed Houston cuts him as we all expect them to cut him.
That was a definite serious headline misread on my part, and I apologize.
No worries.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about Lamar Jackson. I'm here in Baltimore. Lamar won the MVP last year. This year it was such a tough year for Lamar with the Ravens. I'm thinking baseball right now. I'm done with football and all that stuff. But with the Ravens, do you think Lamar should get a contract extension by the Ravens now, or do they wait for next year when it's almost like that Joe Flacco situation? Like, you want to gamble now or you want to gamble next year?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they should wait, because the salary cap we know is going way down, probably somewhere in that $180 million range. So to me, I wait another year. The other thing is, he's been great in the regular season. We've seen it. He's won a league MVP. We've seen that. He's won a lot of games in the regular season. We've seen that. What we haven't seen is him have a lot of playoff success. He won his first playoff game this year. But I want to see more from Lamar Jackson. When you look at the disappointment from last year, I mean, they were the favorite going into the postseason, and they take that loss to Tennessee right out of the gate. So I want to see, if I'm the Ravens, I want to see more out of Lamar Jackson. I want to see him throw the ball down the field, have more success in the passing game. I mean, they're 32nd in the league this year in passing. You have to be better than that to contend for a Super Bowl title. And I think that's what they have to work on this offseason. So I'm with you. I wait on Lamar Jackson, and I don't get in a situation like the Rams did with Jared Goff, and like the Eagles, frankly, did with Carson Wentz. And now they're both like, who's our quarterback of the future? And the Rams have figured it out, but it cost them a pretty penny to do that, to get their next quarterback. If they hadn't given Jared Goff that contract, they could have done way more than what they've done trying to get Matthew Stafford for what it's cost them. And, same with the Eagles. If they had waited on a contract extension for Carson Wentz, they would be able to move on from him if that's what they wanted to do now. But they can't do that. They're tied to him. He's got to be on the roster this year, unless they can find somebody like the Rams did to take him away, take that contract off their hands.
Well, let's move to the big game on Sunday. We talk about we've had a Kansas City writer on. We've had a Buccaneer writer on. I know that you're national. I always like to ask about a player who flies under the radar. I'm a big fullback fan, so Anthony Sherman's like my guy. I want him to score a touchdown. But talk to us about some of the keys to the game from your eyes.
Well, I think I covered the Bucs for 6 years, when they first started having success under Tony Dungy, and then obviously eventually won a Super Bowl in 2002. I left in the middle of the 1999 season, but I got to see some of those great players that they had back in the day. And so this is their second great team that they've had. So a lot of excitement from my friends who are still in Tampa. I know they're fired up about this Super Bowl, especially with it being in Tampa. But I think you look at that Week 12 matchup, they've got to do obviously a better job on Tyreek Hill. I mean, he was on the verge of having a 1,000-yard game. I mean, it's ludicrous, but he had over 200 yards in the first quarter. I think he was on pace for 996 yards or 998 or something. And they did better in the last three quarters. They figured out, I think, how to do some things defensively. But in that game, they only got to Patrick Mahomes twice. Jason Pierre-Paul had one sack and Shaq Barrett had one. They've got to put more pressure on him, and they've got to do that without the blitz. That's the key thing. If they can do that, I think they've got a chance in this game. They're not going to make many stops of the Chiefs. We know that. They're going to have to outscore them. And when you go back to the AFC Championship game and look at it, the Bills settled for field goals. They had the same number of scores, but the Bills settled for field goals. The Chiefs only had one field goal. They scored touchdowns on the rest of their scores. So that's the difference. You're going to have to take some chances. You're going to have to outscore them. You can't settle for field goals. They start kicking field goals, this game's over. So get a stop or two of the Chiefs. If you can just do that and then convert when you get a chance into touchdowns, I think the Bucs have a great chance to win this game. It's not going to be easy. If I'm going to pick a team, I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this game. I think they're the better team. But I would love to see the Bucs do it. I think what Tom Brady has done this year is remarkable. Of everything in his career we talk about, he is the GOAT. This may be the most remarkable thing he's done, to go into a new team, lead them to the Super Bowl in his first year, and without an off season. He did it without an entire off season program, which is just unbelievable.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I appreciate it. And I'm sorry for I'm having some internet issues here in Baltimore, with the weather and all that stuff. But thanks for coming on, and enjoy the weekend. And I hope, real quick, I want to ask you a question. You said you covered Texas A&M a long time ago. What do you think about Jimbo Fisher?
Well, I'm an Aggie too, so I absolutely love Jimbo and what he's done. Had a great signing day again today, so it's been fun.
By the way,
That's
huge.
great.
Hate the Cowboys, love the jersey, just for the record. Okay?
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You too. You too.
I mean, the Staubach jersey is awesome, George, isn't it? Wow. I mean, that thing's flawless too. It's like, it might be it's not in a frame, but it looks like she's just got it. It's beautiful. Unmute yourself, George. There you go.
It's floating.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. Great interview. Great insight. Herbie, I got to tip my cap to you. You have done an absolute phenomenal job with these guests today, Herb. And Super Bowl week, you're certainly stepping up your game. Oops, I think it's just us now, George. Minus the internet issues.
You compliment the guy and he takes off.
That's it. Oh, there he goes. Whoa.
Yeah, I had to go to the phone here, guys, because the internet's really driving me insane here. So, I don't know what's going on, but we're here still, folks. Thanks for joining us here on the program. That's George Bashira, and that's Ewan McCreef, who is Uski, and thanks for joining us tonight. It was really good to have some NFL talk there. Was with Miss Williams there. It was really nice to have her on, sitting there. So, folks, we will be back here on Sunday afternoon. Hopefully the internet, will be better because we had some snow this week. And when you have an old house, things happen that way. We'll be back on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, just for an hour, playing the stuff I've been doing all week here on the program, with the Super Bowl. So, we're waiting for Howard BALZER to join us in 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up with Ewan with his "Show Me the Money" section. Yeah, show me the money.
That's George's go-to move. As soon as I did this, he's like, and then George, you can go underneath too. A lot of you can go over, then you can go under.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that, George.
I've learned
Exactly.
something today. I'm good.
Oh man, it's great. Super Bowl Sunday, guys. We made it. We made it through the season. All the cancellations, all the positive, tests, all the delays. We're at this moment just days away now from it's going to be a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be a great game, and the NFL is very lucky they didn't have any any issues with they were going to make week 17 and 18 just to try to make up these games, and they're very fortunate they had a lot of people fixing TV contracts and having games. We had games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like football all week. Yeah,
they played twice in that spread.
Yeah, the Ravens played one on Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. That was fun. Yeah, I'm sitting there going, all right, let's watch the game here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
By the way, that game was a week late. By the way, that game was supposed to be played on Thanksgiving. It was played 7 days later against the Steelers, and that's where their season took a turn. By the way, after that long wait and have to play Wednesday, then Monday or Tuesday, that turned their season.
Or so you making excuses why they lost to Washington?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. That was a turning point in their season. After that long delay to play the Ravens on Thanksgiving Day game, and then playing quick after that, their season just turned around. That was a junction in their season which it didn't get better. It just got worse.
That's true. Well, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. We had at the beginning of the show, we had some issues with the audio. We had Chuck Foreman with us. It was great to have him on the program. We'll try to get him on another time, Ewan and George, and see how he's doing out there in Minnesota. With the weather and all that stuff going on in this country, stuff going on. So anyway, folks, if you want to vote right now on our Twitter page, you can go to our Twitter page right now and go on and vote, who's going to win the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl right here, this is what we got here. That's what you can vote right now. And I think somebody just booped in on me. That's Howard. And let's bring him out to the stream. There we go. It's Howard BALZER. Thank you so much for coming on to the program, sir. Thanks for joining us. How's your Super Bowl week going?
Oh, it's been different since I'm not there for the first time in like 30 years. So it's been kind of strange in a lot of ways, actually.
Yeah, talk about that. You said you haven't been there in 30. You've been there every year, and this year everybody's doing it from home. I'm doing it on my phone and all that stuff. It's great to have technology.
Yeah, it really is. Someone sent me a video the other day on Monday of Radio Row in the Tampa Convention Center, and it's certainly not a row anymore. It's like this huge area, and there's like 30 tables set up, and it's not even 6 feet of social distancing. It's more like 10 to 15 feet between tables, and there was like nobody there. And it's just, heck, I've been to Radio Row every year for a long time, and how chaotic and frenzied that is. So just another example of how everything's different this year. And yeah, like you said, everything's on Zoom. That's the way everything is. I'm on the Hall of Fame selection committee. We did our vote 2 weeks ago on Zoom. So it's been very different, obviously, a lot of ways this entire year.
Howard, I wanted to ask you. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about the game, and he said something interesting. He said, if Mahomes beats Brady, that will do so much for his legacy. And I said, wait a second, he's so young. We can't use legacy and, with Mahomes in the same sense because he's just getting started. But I got to think about it. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. But, we were talking earlier in the show about Mahomes being the heir apparent. How do you before we get into the X's and O's, how do you look at that matchup on that level?
Well, a few things just to address a couple of things you said. And yeah, legacy, you need a lot of time, but so many people get hung up on these narratives, but I understand it. It's talking points. All these shows, all these Zoom things, radio talk shows, podcasts, whatever it is, you have to have talking points. I mean, a few years ago when the Broncos were in the Super Bowl and everyone was saying, well, this will really help Peyton Manning's legacy if the Broncos win, even though he had little to do with that Super Bowl title for the Broncos. They won the game, but it was more because of their defense. But he was going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame anyway, no matter what happened in that game. And so I think, though, in this game, this game can be historic in a lot of ways, because obviously with Brady, it's just he's going to run out of fingers pretty soon for the Super Bowl rings if he keeps this up and keeps playing. But if the Chiefs can win, and I always like to frame it this way, because there's one thing that drives me the most nuts is when it's referred to as, especially with the quarterback, well, he won the game or he lost the game. Teams win and teams lose. And there's no question that Tom Brady is the winningest Super Bowl quarterback ever. But a big part of that is because he's been on the best team ever for 2 decades. And there were a lot of reasons that they won, a lot because of Tom Brady, but a lot of other reasons why the Patriots won also in a lot of those games. And several of them, heck, they won by a field goal. So anyway, having said all that, if the Chiefs win this game, then they enter a territory that hasn't been done very often in terms of a team winning 2 in a row. And that's awfully hard to do. I always like to talk about what Brian Billick said the year after the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Hard to believe that was 20 years ago. But the next training camp, someone asked him, Brian, why is it so hard to repeat as Super Bowl champs? And he said, because it's hard to win one. It's ridiculously hard to win one, much less to win 2 in a row. And so that pretty much says it all. I think a lot of times, many of us sometimes forget just how hard it is in the NFL, not just to win a Super Bowl, just to win a game on a weekly basis, with all the bounces of the ball and all the different things that can happen that turn a game one way or the other. And here's one thing I'll say about Brady, and I've said this a lot in the last week and a half. Had the Packers come back from that 28-10 deficit and won that game to move on to the Super Bowl, and in large part that would have been done because Tom Brady had three interceptions in the second half, what would the narrative have been coming out of that game about Tom Brady? But they fell short, and now Brady's still the greatest ever. And he is great. There's no doubt about it. But that Buccaneers defense was as much a reason why the Tampa Bay's in this game as Tom Brady.
That's true. And Howard, another thing is with Tampa Bay, you didn't think Tom Brady was going to go south. When Bill Belichick was like, see you later, thanks for coming, he got me 6 rings, and all that stuff, everybody was wondering, where's he going to go? Was he going to go to the West, San Francisco, because he was a prodigy of Joe Montana. Well, they have Garoppolo out there. And then all of a sudden you see reports going, he's going to Tampa. And you're looking at it going, why is he going down to Tampa when Tampa's franchise is the worst winning percentage in the NFL because of the 0-26 back in the 70s?
But they weren't a bad team the last few years. And they just had quarterbacking, obviously, with Jameis Winston, who just, never met an interception that he didn't like. But they weren't a bad football team. And so Brady could look at that roster and see a lot of talent there. And the fact that Bruce Arians was the head coach. But he could see it and see they had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Cameron Brate. And of course, Gronkowski hadn't decided to come back yet. There were some questions of the running game, but they did have Ronald Jones. So I think he looked at that and said, and they had a pretty good offensive line. And so I'm fairly certain he looked at that and said, hey, they've got a lot more talent than New England has if I stay there. And so he felt that he would be able to do some good things there. And it still took half a season for him to really get their traction, if you will. But I heard he said something earlier on Wednesday where he said something about, hey, I think we can be a whole lot better next year. And the big reason for that is now we know each other. We're comfortable with each other. We know what each other can do. They added Antonio Brown. And if he stays on the straight and narrow, it's hard to imagine what he can do for that team. So like I said, this is a team with a lot of talent. And Brady realizes that. And that's why he can play like he's whatever age you want to say. Just reverse his numbers, playing like he's 34 instead of 43.
Exactly. Folks, we're here with Howard BALZER, who covers the NFL for the XM radio. Also, you do some Cardinals during the football season. I hear you a lot here in Baltimore on 105.7. I think you come on once in a while to talk to what's his name?
Haney and Vinny Serrato. Yeah, they have me on almost every week.
Yeah, it's great to hear you every time when I'm driving around town. I'm like, oh, I know this guy. Yeah, so thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. But just talk about this new NFL. We were talking with some people tonight on the program. Got the trade in Detroit that everybody's talking about with Stafford going out to L.A. and you got Groff coming to Detroit, and then you got Deshaun Watson who might sit out for a year. That's what I saw on some of the publications I think the Fan in New York was talking about it, but. Why did Deshaun Watson? Why you want to sit out for a year, knowing that you got people who want you? Like, if you're the Jets, you want somebody better, than.
Well, he can't get there. He can't get to those teams unless the Texans trade him. It's not like he's a free agent and all of a sudden he can pick where he's going. He can try to manipulate it to get where he wants to go, and we'll see how this plays out in the next month or so. But. Obviously the Texans are going to try and continue to try to convince him to stay. But then after that, who knows where he might go? I think that in terms of the worst thing that happened to the Texans, and granted they'll get a big package from anybody, but the worst thing that happened to the Texans is when the Rams got Matthew Stafford, because who knows what the Rams might have done to trade for Deshaun Watson. I mean, this is a team that doesn't care about draft picks. The Rams are in the interest of full disclosure, I'm from St. Louis, and I lived in St. Louis a long time, relocated to Arizona in September. So I was there when the Rams left. And as soon as they moved, and within a month or whatever it was, they made the trade to get up to first in the draft and then took Jared Goff. And I said there's absolutely no way in the world that if the Rams were still in St. Louis that they would have made that deal. And what have they done since then? I mean, they just trade all over the place. They trade first-round pick. They're all about the splash. They're all about staying relevant, being in the headlines in Los Angeles. And on top of everything now, they're looking at it, hey, maybe Matthew Stafford can get us to a Super Bowl, and we'll have one in our stadium, because that's where the Super Bowl is next year, in SoFi Stadium. So that's what the Rams are all about. So if they hadn't been able to make the deal for Stafford, or this didn't happen where Stafford wanted out, who knows what the Rams might have paid to get Deshaun Watson. Now, we'll have to wait and see what team is going to give the Texans a good enough package that they're going to look good by trading him. And they're in a tough spot because of that. But the Lions were in a tough spot because everyone knew that Matthew Stafford wasn't going to be there. But they still end up getting 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a quarterback that they like and has been productive in the NFL. So, yeah, it's crazy what's going on with the quarterbacks. It seems to be that every year, so many teams are just desperate. The ones that don't have one are desperate to find one, and you have the mistakes made. I saw a little note the other day, believe it or not. Since 2009 through 2016, there were 22 quarterbacks picked in the first round of the draft. Only one of them is with the team that drafted him. And I believe 8 or 9 aren't even in the league. which is pretty phenomenal. So that just shows how there's never a guarantee no matter what. And let's be honest, most of the time when teams pick quarterbacks in the first round, it's because their team isn't very good. And if your team isn't very good, then who's going to be sure that you're going to have a team around him? And that's why it was so significant what the Chiefs did. Drafting Patrick Mahomes when they really didn't need him, but knowing they had a team, a pretty good team around them and a hell of a head coach. And here they are. So, and I'll say this about the Lions. A lot of people scoff at Jared Goff. Ooh, that rhymes, I guess. Who's the general manager that was responsible for Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City and Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? That was John Dorsey.
Yeah.
The Lions were hired as a senior personnel consultant. So even though a lot of people are making the point, and a good one, that Brad Holmes, who was the Rams director of college scouting when they picked Goff and is all in on him, and that is a big part of it. But if John Dorsey had his doubts, he would have expressed that to Brad Holmes. And so I have to believe that Dorsey said, hey, that's a pretty good move here. Get a starting quarterback and get the draft choices that you're going to acquire for him.
Howard, keys to the game, final score, MVP. Lay it on me.
Wow. The keys to the game, I think, right, is I mentioned the Packers and the Bucs. And what lost that game for the Packers, it wasn't Matt LaFleur's decision to go for it on to kick on 4th and 8. It wasn't the play at the end of the first half. What lost that game is because the offensive line couldn't block Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. 5 sacks between them, and the Packers didn't have David Bakhtiari, and so they had to move their right tackle to left tackle, bring a right tackle off the bench, and they weakened 2 positions on that offensive line. And in the 2 drives in the fourth quarter, after the last 2 of Brady's interceptions, the Packers went 3 and out, and there was a sack by Barrett on each one of those possessions. So this is the challenge for the Chiefs. They don't have their right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, who's been out for a while, and now their left tackle, Eric Fisher, tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. So they're playing backups on the line. I'll bet you could go to 100 NFL fans on the street and ask them who the Chiefs' offensive linemen are, and they couldn't name one. So I think that's going to be a key, is can that line block the Buccaneers? Now they have Mahomes who can escape stuff and make plays on his own, and that will help them. There's no doubt about it. But if those guys can get to him a few times and maybe force a turnover because Mahomes throws it where he shouldn't, then that could turn the game. I think the Chiefs overall are the better team, but that offensive line scares me a little. So I'm still going to stick with them, though. I don't know if it's just because I'd like to see them win and Brady doesn't need any more rings, but I'm going to say the Chiefs win 35-31. And the MVP, wow. It'll probably be Mahomes because everybody votes for the quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if it's either Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, because if they're going to score 5 touchdowns, then both those guys have good games, and one of them might just go off the chart.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Howard, I think Patrick picked the right profession, because I was reading today he was drafted by the Detroit Tigers back in the early, but his father was a great Met pitcher for a couple of years. So I give him thanks to the 2000 World Series getting us to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, what a great player. He learned a lot about being a pro from his dad, and I believe Patrick when he played baseball, he played shortstop, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of those throws on the move and what he's able to do, a lot of that came from the stuff that he had to do as a shortstop. So he certainly used baseball to help him with his passing, no question.
I hope there's like a line for him to bring the Met jersey out on Sunday. That'd be nice.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yes. Well, Howard, thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend. I know you wish you're down there, but hey, next year it's in LA, so you don't have to. It'll be a big time next year in LA.
Hopefully everything clears up, and then of course 2 years from this year, I don't even have to travel. It's right here in Arizona.
Beautiful.
That's
hey,
awesome.
we're coming out, Howard. Get the cold ones on ice, buddy. All right.
Hey, I'm gonna have a great house party.
There you go.
That works. Thanks, Howard. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Howard.
That's Howard. That's Howard BALZER, who covers the NFL for the folks in. Let me bring him off the. Let me try to get him out here. Hold on a second.
We don't want to let you go, Howard. You're too good, buddy.
We're going to keep you on there. Hold on. Why am I not getting him on? Here we go. Got it. There we go. He's done. All right, we're good. We got him.
We ready?
All right. Yeah, ready for the big money and to wrap up the show here. What's the big money? Go.
All right, here we go. I have for my first prop bet, it's Chiefs total points over 29.5. You heard Howard say he thinks they score 35. I think 30 is very manageable. My other prop bet, George, is Leonard Fournette over 3.5 catches. The last 3 years of playoff games, Brady has checked down and thrown to running backs 32% of the time. In these playoffs, running backs are tied with 14 receptions with the wide receivers. Take the over 3.5 catches from Leonard Fournette. The best prop on the board, Herbie, is this one. Mm-hmm. Will there be a penalty of more than 15.5 yards? So obviously we know that it has to be a pass interference penalty. Tampa Bay leads the NFL in pass interference penalties. Also, the way Tyreek Hill torched this secondary, all we need is a 16-yard pass interference. Show me the money, George. That's it. Over 29.5 points. Leonard Fournette, over 3.5 catches, over 15.5 yards for a penalty, George. You're going to go 3-0, baby. 3-0, George.
All right. We'll check in with you in 2 weeks when you get next week. We'll check in with you next week and see how you did. And, so thanks for everybody for joining us. I know we had some internet hiccups here, but thanks for joining us this evening. We'll be back Sunday afternoon at 3:00 here. I will be. We'll play all the stuff we've been doing from now until the weekend, and George might stop by and we'll talk a little football, and maybe he might show us what he's cooking for his wife, as the food meal. Yeah.
I'll give you a clue. It deals with the city of Pittsburgh.
Oh, you got some ribs going on, some bratwurst over there.
Permane Brothers.
Oh wow, I love it, guys! Great show. My last thing I'm going to say: Chiefs 32, Bucs 31. What's your prediction, George?
I'm going with the 40-31 Chiefs.
Ooh, Herbie?
I'm going to go with my Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to probably, it's probably going to be a nice defensive struggle because, the second time you play somebody, the first one is like a shootout. This one's going to be a defensive struggle. So it's probably going to be Chiefs going to win by 3.
What's the score, Herbie?
I want to go say 20-17.
Oh, he takes the under. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Love you guys. Great show.
All right, folks. We'll see you all on Sunday afternoon here on Herb FM on StreamYard.com. For George Bashera, for Ewan McCreef, I'm Chris Idell. Also, thanks to Chuck Foreman for joining us and Howard BALZER and everybody who joined us tonight. Have a great evening. See you Sunday.
Good night.